Magic is such an incredibly powerful tool, and we're only scratching the surface as to how to use this tool in the most impactful way.
This is Vinh, Andrew, and Dan, 3 out of 8 people that together form Magic on Purpose. They're a part of a handful of really interesting people that I've talked to during this project. I'll get back to these guys soon. But first, where did we finish off last time? So, what are the benefits with magic? What do people do with it? And most importantly, what is magic? I've set out on a mission to figure this out.
Hey, what are you doing?
I'm going to look for the magicians. To be able to figure this out, I researched, I went on Reddit, I watched YouTube videos, and I emailed a bunch of people. And before I knew it, people started to answer my texts, my phone calls, and my emails.
Hi, Anthony.
Hello.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
This is Professor Anthony Barnhart. He's a professor within cognitive science and has been working with magic for quite some time now.
While I was in graduate school, I started seeing people publishing work using magic as a tool for studying attention and perception, and I abruptly changed my focus because I had all this training as a magician that I wasn't putting to use.
Anthony hasn't been the only one I've talked to. I've also talked to Stuart Nolan, an experienced applied magician, workshop facilitator, and interaction designer.
Sometimes I get called an experimental magician. I don't really know what that means.
I was just going to ask, what does that mean? Yeah.
I think I got introduced as an experimental magician at a performance once. And I didn't really know what they meant and why they thought of my work as experimental. I think because I sometimes make things using technology.
Yeah.
So I made a mind-reading robot bird.
I also got to talk to Gustav Kuhn, a reader in psychology and the president of the Science of Magic Association. And PhD candidate Jay Olsen, who is interested in how psychology and magic can be combined and overlapped. And last but not least, I also got the chance to talk to magician, keynote speaker, and workshop facilitator Dan Trommater. Dan later introduced me to Magic on Purpose, a group of magicians that use magic for a deeper purpose than just entertainment. There's a couple of things that I wanted to figure out while interviewing. Of course I wanted to know what magic is, but what is magic to these people? Why did they choose magic in the first place? And what do they do with it?
Yes, hi.
Hi, Jay. It's Alexis.
Hi, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
The building that I was in just had a fire alarm, actually. I began as a magician most of my life, and then I became interested in like how exactly magic works and why magic works. So like, what are the underlying cognitive mechanisms that make it work?
It was just a hobby, but it very quickly took over my life job. Most of my work is as a speaker and a facilitator, and I'm using magic as a tool, along with some other things like optical illusions and stories, to illustrate the content in a way that I can't with just words alone. It's interesting. It's just in the last couple of years that I made the realization that magicians need empathy in order to create and perform magic. We're not actually doing impossible things. We're just making it look like it. We need to understand from the other person's point of view what the experience is like so that we can guide their perceptions to experience this.
You know, magic and purpose has been an issue for me since I was about 18.
This is Andrew Barrnett, magician, inspirational speaker, and founder of Magic on Purpose.
I had kind of an existential crisis as it relates to magic. I kind of thought, you know, if you could do real magic, why would you pull a rabbit out of the hat? You wouldn't do that if you had real magic powers. You'd make money appear. You'd make your enemies disappear. You know, you'd do things like that.
So, you know, for me, it was a career path. For me, it was a way to make money at the start. For me, even before that, it was a way to try to find love.
This is keynote speaker and magician Vinh Giang.
But I think if you're looking at the core pillars of what it is and what it has been for myself, it's
It's been just a philosophy. It's been that behind everything that looks impossible, there is a method.
And I moved to London to start a career as a professional magician. I failed in this career and then got more into academia, then embarked on a PhD in consciousness. Through luck, started to hang out with some researchers who were studying eye movements, and then we just thought, well, it might be quite interesting to see how magicians manipulate people's attention. And for me, that really was the beginning of the science of magic.
Do you see any negative parts, or like what's the positive parts of it?
Yeah, look, I think magic can be good and bad, because we'll talk about the bad first, right?
Yeah.
Throughout my experience, when the magic is overpowering, when you have magic that is too strong, meaning magic that gets people caught up on, oh my God, how's it done? Like, it just freaks them out a bit too much. Then the magic overtakes the message.
It's so easy to get carried away with just showing off.
In my teaching, I do use magic sometimes, but I use it very carefully. I wouldn't just do a magic trick for the sake of doing a magic trick, because I think that will just... I mean, it can be useful in that it can give people a break and it can captivate people and get them to listen to what you're talking. But as Stuart says, I mean, it can be very distracting.
Knowing when not to do your trick is something that magicians have to learn. Like when you're a kid, you get into magic, you want to do tricks for everybody, and you just think magic's going to be amazing, and everyone's like, oh God, not another trick. Some people hate magic, and done badly, you just come over like an annoying pest.
Because if it's too good, then people get stuck on how did I do that? Right? It can become a distraction if it's not used delicately, because humans, when we see something we don't understand, we immediately go to trying to figure it out.
The discussion of why aren't there more women magicians is quite big.
Magic is still very sexist. Most of the magic organizations have executive boards that are all old white men. I think that's the biggest problem.
Back in the early days, women were less than. They were the assistants, so I think there's that. I think magic has been a good old boys club.
And I suspect it's the case that as a lot of this stuff moves online, the people who are accessing it online are likely to be younger folks, and that is their magic community. And the people who aren't accessing it online are probably the older folks who still then access it through these physical, in the real world conventions. Yeah. I think there's probably just this big dissociation between those two.
When I studied psychology, I was hoping to learn a lot of principles that could help my magic, but I realised that actually the topic of magic just simply wasn't studied.
There's a lot of different psychological aspects that haven't been studied in psychology. That magicians know how to make them work, but they don't know why. They don't know like the mechanisms behind it. Secrecy is like a core component of magic, and for science, like transparency and disclosure is a core component. So someone trying to balance these is challenging.
So as a performer, I've never really cared much about exposure of secrets. I think there's no evidence of exposure harming magic, with the exception of maybe exposing grand illusions that somebody might pay a bunch of money for and then not be able to perform anymore. But I think exposure often benefits magic. It brings new people in to magic, and it builds excitement where there might not have been excitement before.
It can be good is when the curiosity component is just enough so that when they see it, they go, oh man, that's really interesting.
Magic is, of course, a tool to generate wonder in people. Yeah. However, I think the definition of wonder that people are generally operating under is based on the first 10 seconds of wonder. Right? So it's that wow thing where people, wow, that's amazing, whoa, and you're blown away. But then what? what do you do with that?
Yeah.
And you have to be very careful what you do with it.
Wonder is really close with curiosity, because for some people, when they experience wonder, the next step right after that is they go, okay, why did that work? How did that work? And they're really drawn in by that.
I think labeling it as entertainment is accurate, but it's also a little limiting. I think magic is a wonderful conduit for wonder and connection. Magic can bring people together in a way that other things can't.
Because I think a lot of people walk around with closed minds, and magic creates a spark that forces you to open your mind.
The bottom line is magic is about communication. What's communicated can be very different depending on who's using it.
Because people think there's only one kind of magician, but there are many, many kinds of magicians who do very different styles. Part of what I do is I want the world of magic to get something out of this. So part of what I'm doing is broadening the appreciation of what magic is and can be. I think it's important to connect with people on a human level.
People resonate with the idea of empathy so much more.
Oh yeah, have you ever used magic in any other area than entertainment or in the work you're doing right now?
What we're doing here is we're trying to see if we can extract some of these principles that magicians use in order to make placebo effects more effective, and see how they can be used in medicine.
Fairly big research project where we are looking at deception and computer agents, and particularly looking at how deceptive principles for today can be implemented in computer agents to tackle cybercrime and
benefit both groups, right? If this interaction works appropriately, scientists will learn something and the magicians will learn something. They'll have some techniques, some empirical evidence.
Yes, we do experience not being taken seriously, but that just comes down to experience. The more experience you get, the more you're able to show people why it's not childish, why it's actually very important.
I think in the right hands, magic can be a really powerful tool for communicating positive messages that will help people be better.
Because magic is one of those unique art forms that can still open people's minds in an instant.
You're going to have a moment of clarity where you'll know what's important to share and to focus on, and you're going to have that kind of experience of what it's about.
Trust yourself, trust your intuition, because this, like you say, this is uncharted territory. There's, with all the data and information you've gathered, there is no one right answer for what you do with it.
Yep.